If you have a question for Mo, you got to send us an email. It's very simple. Just send it into ask@DeWittLaw.com. That's DeWitt with 2 T's. Ask@DeWittLaw.com. Whatever your legal question or curiosity might be. Could be something that you're asking about, someone you know your friend is going through, or something you just kind of saw on the most recent episode of Law and Order and wanted to ask Mo about.
There
That's
you go.
probably something that could be very common. Go ahead and send that email. We'll talk about it. Ask@DeWittLaw.com. That is ask@DeWittLaw.com. Also, just a reminder, if you want to check out some of the past shows, you can do that. Just check out DeWitt Law Firm on Facebook, on YouTube. We put all those shows up there on video so you can watch and learn that way. And also, if you just kind of tune in late to a show, you can jump back and check it out that way. Mo, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm doing good. We're recording a little earlier than we usually do.
We are. We had to record a little early because I'm headed out to Las Vegas for a conference this week. So,
Conference, yeah.
well, they put all the conferences in Las Vegas because they know people will show up.
I'm also heading out for a conference that's coincidentally the same weekend as March Madness this year.
I see how
It's
that
a
goes.
conference that I'm going to.
Yeah, very important stuff. Very
Yeah.
important.
Well, actually, no. My dad worked in that kind of a realm where he was always out at the what is the CES, all that.
Consumer
He was
Electronics Show.
always out at all those shows for the company that he worked for. So,
Gotcha.
do you ever, when you go on those, will you pass by a table maybe or anything?
Well, the conference is in the hotel that has all the tables and the casino and everything else. So you're kind of forced to do that.
Do you have like a preferred table game? Do you just kind of like dabble around, try them all? Like, are you like, what's your approach?
I don't. I'm not a big gambler personally. But there is a game, and I forget. It's at one of the older casinos, I think, downtown, and it's like the last one there. And I forget the name of it, but basically, you put quarters in, and the little horse goes around the track, like the mechanical horse. It's the last one in Vegas. I do want to go just play that for fun,
That sounds like a
and just
fun
go
one.
see it. It's at like the second floor of some old casino in downtown. It's the last one they have there.
Huh? And that was
Um,
like a big thing at the back in the day or something.
Yeah, I
or?
think so. I think it's called like Penny Horses or something like that. I'm sure I'm getting the name wrong. I'm sure the listeners will text in and tell us the proper name.
Right.
But yeah, I wanted to just check that out just for fun. But
Okay.
yeah, it's definitely a relic at this point.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I want to check that out now too. I
Yeah.
kind of want to.
I'll look it up. I'll tell you where it is.
Well, yeah, you're going to be out there before me, so you'll find it and then you'll get back and you'll just
Send some
anything else.
pictures.
Yeah, anything else you got for me, for sure. I like to do roulette. That's the one that
Nice and easy.
That's the one that I do. I figure I'm a big math and numbers guy. I always have been. So I just have like a system where it takes like 2 to 3 hours, but if I'll sit there, I'll make money every single time.
That's what they all say.
Oh, that's true. That is what they all say. But like
Yeah.
I'm only making like small amounts. It takes a while. But yeah, I've never lost doing it. So
I think the house may have the odds there on good old roulette.
that's
but
what people say. But I don't know. I think I've got a system. I think I do.
is that just to place money on both all black and all red?
No, every single number.
Every single number.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good
Mhm.
one too.
And you never lose. It's incredible. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. So
Interesting.
that's kind of my approach to it. But yeah, I think I've
Yeah.
got it figured out.
Yeah, we should not start a gambling advice show. I think
No,
I think
gosh,
that'd be
no,
very,
no.
very bad.
No, God, no, absolutely not. Let's go ahead and do a law show though, a legal
Yeah.
show, because we do have some news this week to get to that is pretty interesting.
Yeah, so I haven't heard much about this in the news so far, but St. John's Insurance Company, which is the 8th largest homeowners insurance company in the state of Florida, is now going belly up, and we're seeing a lot of this with the homeowners insurance claims in Florida, and so they're now in contact with the insurance Department of Insurance Regulation of Florida as to whether they're going to be taken over in receivership. You know, obviously, insurance companies have to have a certain amount of reserves and all that kind of stuff to preserve all potential claims that are coming forward under St. John's. But at this point in time, they're not taking any new business. And a lot of this has to do with the roofing claims in Florida that we've seen over the years. And if you're not familiar with the roofing claims, basically, after Hurricane Andrew swept through Miami, there was a lot of problems with insurance companies paying out to replace the roofs and just do the proper replacements in general. So, I always kind of describe this as a pendulum, right? So things kind of swung very far to one side to kind of force the insurance companies to pay and do it timely back then. And now people have kind of, for lack of a better term, taken advantage of that, and the insurance companies are really paying out a lot on roofing claims.
Was it? Yeah, it was recently, or maybe I don't know what the time frame is because who knows what time is, but that there was a way that you could just kind of have somebody, a roof inspector, come and look at your home, and if there was perceived damage, right, from hail or anything like that, it was just, oh, insurance will take care of it. You can get a new roof. And it was very easy. And it was a weird moment in time of like 3 years where a lot of people were doing this.
Well, probably longer. I think we've all kind
Was
of
it even longer?
seen.
I mean, I've only been out here for 7 years now.
Yeah,
So
I think we've all kind of seen the people. Hey, we'll inspect your roof. We'll see if we can put a claim through for you. And I'm sure some of those people are very legitimate. I'm sure others maybe aren't. But the problem is now a lot of the homeowners insurance companies in the state of Florida are pulling out, leaving Citizens, which is the state backed insurance company, to really be one of the primary insurance companies in the state of Florida to offer homeowners insurance. And this caught my attention because personally, I have a 10-year-old roof on my house, and I just got a notice that they're going to cancel our insurance if we don't replace it. And I called the roofing company, and they go, "That roof has at least another 10 years in it. There's no reason you should have to replace that." And he also made the comment they don't even pay claims on your type of roof anyways because it's a what they call a tar and gravel roof. So I guess they don't pay the claims on them anyway. So why are they making you replace it? But
right.
he was obviously very familiar with this whole issue. And so because of this issue now, the Senate is trying to pass some legislation to kind of curtail this roof litigation. And so what they're trying to do is allow insurers to write policies that cover the cash value versus the replacement value of the roof. And so that's where things have kind of gotten a little hairy is right now they obviously have to pay the replacement value. So you get some damage to the roof, they have to rip off the whole roof and whatever it costs, the insurance company has to pay it,
Right.
which, some people may say has encouraged roofing companies to charge more and has driven up the cost of roofs. Now, I'll say, when I bought my house 10 years ago, the roof had just been replaced. And I think I saw the receipt for it. I didn't do it. The prior owner did. And it was like $4,000 to replace it then. When I just got this quote now, it's north of $20,000 to
Ooh.
replace the same roof. So there's definitely been some inflation there, whether it's
I would say.
yeah, whether it's due to this or other economic factors, we could only speculate, obviously. But what they're trying to do here is basically say, okay, you can write a policy that covers the cash value of older roofs. Basically, what's it worth now? What's the cash value on it versus an unknown replacement value in the future? So a fixed cost. So, hey, we're going to we're going to insure your roof for $10,000. If something happens to it, we'll write you a check for 10 grand, but that's all you get. Not, hey, we're going to insure basically you'll have the option on the insurance policy,
Right,
obviously.
right.
But I'm going to guess if this were to pass, insurance companies are going to charge probably much higher premiums on the replacement value
Right, as
policies
opposed to the cash.
versus the cash value policy. So just like your home may be insured for a certain amount of, let's say it's insured for $100,000 in contents, right? It's not whatever number you make up, it's up to $100,000. Well, same thing would be for the roof. It's not the replacement value, it's up to $10,000 if you need the roof replaced. Now, the opponents of this bill are basically saying, well, that could put some people in a tough spot. If there's a hurricane that comes through, you have people who are on a fixed income, senior citizens, their roof gets wiped out by a hurricane, a storm,
Right.
hailstorm, whatever it may be. They need to replace it. They don't have the money to do that. They only insured it for $10,000. Roof costs $30,000. What are they going to do? And so, obviously, you can see both sides of the argument there. But I think it's interesting legislation that's being pushed through. There's been numerous efforts. A small reform got passed last year on the roofing litigation, I'll call it, to try to kind of curtail that a little bit. It continues to be a focus in the legislature. I think probably rightfully so, given that insurance companies are pulling out of the state of Florida. They don't want to
Yeah.
insure us anymore. And so now you have Citizens, which is that is the state-backed insurance. Us as taxpayers are backing that insurance company. And I think, let's see, they said it's now up to 770,000 policies who are backed by Citizens, where last year I think it was about 420,000. So
Wow.
it's almost taken a
Yeah.
50, almost not quite double, but almost there in the matter of a year, just a short period of time of a year or so.
And what I would be curious too is if this does end up happening, how this would then affect, housing market going forward as well. Like there's a trickle down effect when this sort of thing happens because then you're looking at purchasing a house and it's like, well, they can upsell the house because it's got a brand new roof because they could say, well, if you do this, you get the cash backed value insurance. It's a brand new roof. They're going to insure it for a good amount. Whereas, if it's a 10 or 12-year-old roof, the cashback value on that kind of insurance isn't going to be great. It could be the flip side, a negotiating tactic for a buyer.
Well, and you have to remember, when you go to buy a house, one of the things that they're going to look at when they qualify you for that mortgage is what's the monthly cost of that insurance. So the higher
Yeah.
premiums on the insurance, the less house you can buy. because
True.
they're looking at your monthly income. Just to give you a quick stat, at least according to this article, um, the new policies written by Citizens Insurance, the state-backed insurance,
Hmm.
they're writing 5,000 new policies a week.
Wow.
So 5,000 new
So
people a week are having to switch over to Citizens. So that shows you what's happening with the other insurance companies in the state of Florida. I don't think there's many left, frankly. And St. John's was the eighth biggest. They're now going belly up. We've seen other companies pull out of the state of Florida. They won't insure us anymore. So it's definitely something that the legislature needs to address. We'll see what happens with this Senate bill. It's Senate Bill 1728, in case anyone's interested and wants to look into it. So we'll see what happens with it, how it progresses through the legislature, if it gets passed, if a version of it gets passed, and ultimately if there's any sort of reform on these roofing claims.
And the other thing too is that right now, at least, so like the roof on our house is probably, I think it's 11 or 12 years old, and getting insurance when we bought the house was hard. Finding
Yeah.
an insurance company that would insure it. There were a lot of them were like, no, sorry, it's too old of a roof, and it's not that it's too old a roof. It's just that they're worried that you get a new homeowner that moves into a house and they check out the roof, get it inspected, and their inspector says, oh, you need a new one, and then you're filing a claim. It was hard and it was difficult. And now with one less insurer here,
Yeah.
it's going to be even more difficult.
Yeah, it will be, and I think it'll continue to be until there's some sort of reform there. At some point, I'm sure citizens can only handle so many new customers, and before their premiums have to go up as well, because they're not immune from the same issues the other insurers have.
Right.
It's just their state backed.
And with more customers, there are going to be more claims as well.
Exactly.
Good stuff there, Mo. Appreciate that. If you've got a question about that, go ahead and shoot us an email, ask@DeWittLaw.com. If you don't have a question about that and you've got a question about something else, you can email that as well, ask@DEWITTlaw.com. Don't forget to check out the DeWitt Law Firm, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Mo does a whole bunch of fun stuff there, putting up side videos that you really got to check out because they are a lot of fun. But we got more show here coming up. You're listening to the DeWitt Law Review on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580.
Oh, hey there. I was just staring at this check that we just got for $20,000 for a guy who was hit by a car while riding on his one wheel. The initial offer in this case was just over $3,700. That's well over 6 times the initial offer. And that's why you call Mo.
Welcome back to the DeWitt Law Review, WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. We are going to be getting to your emails here in just a few minutes. And again, if you want to send an email in, you can get those in at ask@DeWittLaw.com. Also, don't forget, check out DeWittLaw.com where you can submit a case evaluation, check out some past archive shows. You can use the legal blog there as well. Some good information on that. Just plenty of stuff.
Try.
Peruse the site a bit. Check it out. That's DeWittLaw.com. And again, the office number there for them is 1-800-DeWitt-Law, 1-800-339-4885. Mo, we've got a few minutes here in this segment. Let's talk a little about this guardianship bill here that's reached the Florida grounds.
Yeah, we were just kind of talking off the air about this. It just kind of popped
Don't
up.
tell them those things.
Oh, we're not. Yeah,
No.
we don't actually speak off the air. I
I thought that was
apologize.
private.
This is actually a national bill. It's up in Congress in
okay.
DC. It's called the Freedom.
Shows how much I was listening.
Yep, exactly. It's called the Freedom and Right to Emancipate from Exploitation, or FREE Act. And basically, it's kind of inspired from the whole Free Britney movement. If you're familiar with that, she was under a conservatorship for 14 years, and a lot of people said that it was abusive and took advantage of her money, and things of that nature. The conservatorship was finally dissolved after 14 years, and so this bill would essentially allow people to petition a court to replace their conservators without having to prove misconduct or abuse. And so that was part of the issue in her case, is she had to show that her conservators were not acting in her best interest. And so, part of the issue here arises just from a simple financial sense is once this conservatorship is established, everyone who's involved with it, from the attorneys to the conservators to the managers to everybody else to the financial people, they're all paid from the conservatorship. So they really have a financial interest and having this thing continue on, even though, maybe it's no longer necessary. And in this case, in Britney Spears' case, I'm sure they were getting paid substantially from that.
Yeah.
So this bill attempts to kind of change the standard from that. So you no longer have to show or prove misconduct or abuse, which can be a tough standard to show, frankly. It will also allow each person under conservatorship to have an independent caseworker and require that caseworker, along with the conservators, to disclose their finances for transparency. So that's exactly what I was going to there. They want to have a full financial transparency as far as who's paying these people, where's the money coming from, and how much are they being paid, so they can kind of know their interest, when they're going in front of the court and testifying.
See, I think that is the more important part of that right there, is having the individual, like a third party, be able to kind of sit there on the sidelines and be able to see these things going on. Because the one thing that, from what I gathered from the conservatorship that was Britney Spears and everything, was that nobody knew. Like,
Right.
the only people that knew was her dad and everyone in that conservatorship. So having somebody, just one person, who can kind of sit there and be a third party and just say, that doesn't look right there.
Yeah.
I think that's very important.
Well, there was a case in Seminole County here, and I don't know the exact details. I read an article maybe 6 months ago about it, where an individual was placed into a conservatorship like that. She was an older individual, but she was perfectly mentally with it, and didn't need the conservatorship, and she couldn't get out of it. She kept calling attorneys, trying to get people to take her case, trying to break the conservatorship. Finally, she found an attorney in Seminole County to take her case, who was able to get the conservatorship dismantled. But by the time they did it, all her stuff was gone. They sold her house. They
Oh
sold
my
her
gosh.
property in the house. I mean, they took everything to pay for the conservatorship. She wasn't a wealthy person like Britney Spears. She was probably an average middle class individual, but it really ruined her life because she got placed into this. And I don't remember if there was a medical issue that placed her into it, but afterwards, she was certainly with it. Very interesting story. It would actually be interesting to dig more into that and see where she is now and how things have, evolved.
Yeah, how do people get entered into conservatorships? That's a decision by the parents, I'm assuming, more often than not.
Well, typically typically it's someone who becomes incapacitated. So usually we see this when older adults, someone who has, mental health issues.
Okay.
They may suffer from Alzheimer's, things of that nature, to where they need someone to oversee them so that they're not making bad decisions. I've dealt with these cases before. There was one case with a very respected doctor, and he was just writing checks to everybody and anybody, and so they had to kind of place him in a situation to prevent him from being able to do that, because he was just handing out money. I guess he was a nice guy, but obviously there's problems there, and so usually you see this actually in the elderly, not younger people, that they're placed in these kind of oversight situations, a conservatorship or guardianship, something along those lines, to prevent them from doing things that are going to harm them, as well as to take care of them. Maybe they don't have the ability to pay their finances anymore, make sure things are taken care of. And so it's kind of set up to protect them, is the idea.
All right, there. It's some interesting stuff there. And yeah, we'll see kind of how that goes, because I think that is something that probably should change. And it is crazy that, it's a public case like Britney Spears that brings that to light for everyone else.
Yeah, it's something, when it happens to a celebrity, people pay attention to it. When it happened to the person in Seminole County, I don't know that I've really ever seen, except for that one article, anyone pay attention to it. But obviously, it's happened to a number of people over time. The intention of these conservatorships are good, but every once in a while, just like anything else, it can be abused.
All right. Good stuff, Mo. Appreciate that. We're going to bring up some emails here coming up. You're listening to the DeWitt Law Review. If you want to get in touch with Moe DeWitt and the DeWitt Law Firm, give them a call, 1-800-DEWITT-LAW. That is 1-800-339-4885. You're listening to the DeWitt Law Review on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580.
Here's a little attorney secret for you. Hiring any attorney is always better than hiring no attorney. I know every day you get inundated with attorney ads on the radio, on television. Everybody's saying, hire me because I do this, or hire me because I do that. At the end of the day, if you just hire an attorney for your injury case, in my opinion, you're always going to do better. Yeah, the insurance company does know the attorneys who go to court. They know the attorneys who are going to fight them. And they do know the attorneys that are going to accept the last best settlement offer. But at the end of the day, if you don't hire an attorney for your injury case, in my opinion, you're always going to lose.
Welcome back to the DeWitt Law Review, WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. Don't forget to check out DeWittLaw.com. You can check out the legal blog, learn some stuff there. And also, if you've missed the first part of the show, check out at DeWitt Law Firm on Facebook, on YouTube, and the past of the show. You can check that out, and other shows that we've recorded in the past are all there as well. So you can go and catch up there and check out what we've already talked about and past shows we've talked about as well. If you're interested in hearing about the alimony bill that's going on right now, that we go in great detail on multiple shows. So go check that out at DeWitt Law Firm, Facebook and YouTube, wherever you find video podcasts. Also where you can find listening podcasts too.
There you go. And just for the listener's sake, we'll continue to keep you updated on the alimony bill as it makes its way through the legislature. Hasn't been any major changes or updates in the last couple of weeks, so that's why we're not mentioning it on today's show. But as soon as there's some more information on it or something happens with it, we'll certainly keep you updated on the progress.
Absolutely. All right, Mo, let's go ahead and get to our listener emails. Of course, if you want to send an email in, you just got to do that to ask@DeWittLaw.com. That is ask@DeWittLaw.com. All right, Mo, I was recently involved in an accident and have been handling the claim myself. The insurance company is asking me to give a statement and they want to record it. I've been trying to be cooperative and they've been very nice, but I'm a little uncomfortable about giving a recorded statement. Do you have any advice, and do I have to give them a recorded statement?
So this question kind of makes me want my head to explode a little bit. But first thing I'll say is, anytime you're handling a claim with the insurance company, definitely speak to an attorney about it. Going against the insurance company on your own, in my opinion, is always a bad idea. Yeah, I'm an attorney, so maybe that's a loaded answer, but I think the statistics we've talked about before, show the insurance company actually did a study a number of years ago, and they actually found that when someone has an attorney versus when they don't, the person with an attorney recovers a little over 3.5 times than the person who doesn't. So take that food for thought. But as far as the recorded statement goes, you want to speak to an attorney about this. So typically, if it's your own insurance company, you have a contract with that insurance company, right? And under that contract, typically, you're required to give a recorded statement. So if it's a claim for your uninsured motorist coverage or your personal injury protection, your PIP or no fault benefits, in those cases, you could be required to give a recorded statement. If you don't, then they may not have to offer coverage because you have that contract with them. If it's an insurance company that you don't have a contract with, then you don't have to typically give a recorded statement. You're not legally obligated to because you don't have a contract with that company. Now, where it can get a little confusing is if the person, I'm just going to use an example. Let's say you get rear-ended and the person who hits you has Geico, right? But you also have Geico. So when that adjuster's calling you, you need to ask them, which side are you representing here? Because essentially what they have to do there is put up a wall between them because they're kind of adverse at that point, right? It's the same insurance company, but they're representing adverse sides of the equation. So you have to ask them, are you calling as my insurance company or are you calling as the insurance company for the at-fault driver? Because if it's for the at-fault driver, then you don't have to give them that recorded statement. It's only when you have a contract with them that you're required to give them the recorded statement. And then you just want to be careful when you give a recorded statement to not say things that are going to hurt you. You always want to tell the truth, but what they may try to do is say, how are you doing? Kind of casual conversation, and you're going to say, oh, I'm fine, or I'm doing okay. And you may still have real injuries. You may, still be seeing the doctor, and, hey, you could have a broken bone for all we know. But you're saying I'm okay because you're saying I'm not dead.
Right.
That's really what you're
it's
saying.
just, you're just naturally responding in the moment.
Right. It's kind of natural verbiage that we use in our conversations. So just be careful with things like that. The other thing they'll try to do is they'll try to contact you kind of 24 to 48 hours after an accident a lot of times. And they'll try to give you, they'll try to get you to give a recorded statement at that point because you don't know the full extent of your injuries yet. So you may say, oh, I'm feeling a little sore, or, oh, my back or my neck hurts, but you don't know that you have a torn tendon or a torn ligament. And so then they're going to say, oh, well, 2 days after the accident, you were just sore. And now you're saying this torn ligament was from the accident. So stuff like that. So you just want to be careful. That's why I always say consult with an attorney. They can give you the best advice based on your own individual situation. But in general, to answer the question, if it's not your insurance company, you don't have to give them a recorded statement. If it is your insurance company, then you may be obligated pursuant to the contract.
Yeah, and better to be safe than sorry in these situations as well. Like you said, I'm fine means who knows what it means when they hear it versus when you're saying it.
Right.
It can be interpreted in many different ways. Let's go on to our next email here. I was driving down the road and hit a pothole, which caused the wall of 2 of my tires to blow out and need to be replaced. Is there anything I can do?
The old potholes.
The old potholes.
Yeah. So, I mean, in short, if the city knew, or whoever's maintaining the roadway, let me put it that way, whoever's maintaining the roadway, if they knew or should have known about the pothole there, then they could have an obligation to cover whatever damage was caused, in this case, the tires. Obviously, the more serious cases are when there's an accident caused or something along those lines where people are injured. Now, the tough part is knew or should have known. So, what does that mean? Basically, it means that someone reported it and they haven't done anything about it. And there was actually an attorney in a different state. I think he was up in the Midwest, South Dakota, or something like that, if I remember correctly. And he did something that I thought was kind of brilliant, and the city actually loved him for it. So he created this whole campaign of report potholes. And I don't know if this was selfishly because he was trying to get business from it, or if he was just trying to help the city. But he said report potholes, and then he would report them to the city. Now, obviously, if the city didn't repair them, they could be liable if someone got in an accident because of them. But the city ended up loving it because they got like a stream of, hey, this is the pothole that needs to be replaced, and their crew could just go out, repair it, and move to the next one. So it actually worked out pretty well, and people were kind of, I think he maybe set up an app. I don't remember exactly. But they were reporting potholes left and right, and the city was out there filling them. They had their crew, going full bore and working, getting everything fixed up. So they really actually liked it and really thanked him for it. But yeah, basically, if they're going to be liable for it, they either had to know or should have known about it. Basically means someone reported it or a city official saw it and just chose not to do anything about it.
Would that site or app have been legal grounds for them knowing about it, do you think?
Exactly. If someone's reporting it, then
Yeah.
they know about it. Then they
Okay.
have actual knowledge of it, whether it's through an app like that or someone just calling and complaining or writing a letter. Then they're put on notice and they could be liable for it.
Well, so I wonder, and this is kind of off a similar vein. We've talked about this in a kind of same sense before, but like, let's say that you're pulling into somebody's driveway, a private property, and you blow out your tires on a nail or something that was on the ground in there. Is there any legal ramifications in those instances?
Well, it's going to be basically the same standard. Did they know or should they have known about it, right? So, first of all, you have to show that the homeowner somehow put the nail there. It wasn't from a third party, a roofing contractor or something like that who drove by or was working in the roadway and the nail kind of got kicked into the driveway. So let's say that the homeowner dumped a pile of nails. They're getting out from the hardware store, pile of nails, just fall in the driveway. They go inside, say, I'll clean it up next week. And somebody pulls in their driveway. They knew that person was coming and they blow a tire, then they could possibly be liable for it. But you have to kind of have an extreme set of circumstances there to be able to show, A, it came from the homeowner, B, that they knew or should have known about it, and then that they didn't do anything to prevent the harm, essentially.
And would it follow the same realm in like a parking lot in like a Stop and Shop or a complex or something like that? Would there not be a reasonable expectation that they would keep that
So
clean of that? Or I'm just curious.
yeah, businesses have a little bit different standard than a homeowner,
Right.
Because there you're an invitee. People are expected to come to the business, to the parking lot,
Right.
to do their shopping because that's your business. So you have a little bit higher level of standard for businesses when it comes to parking lots, floors, things like that, than you do for a private residence.
So if it were to happen in a business, maybe there's something depending on the circumstance.
Again, it's going to depend. If somebody got out of their car and dropped it and it was there for 5 seconds, the business probably
Right.
isn't going to be liable. If it's been on the ground for an extended period of time, nobody's looking for it, nobody's kind of sweeping the area, and somebody gets seriously injured, then they could potentially be liable for it.
Interesting. I've always kind of wondered about that, but never really known. So I guess thank you to this listener who sent that email in. Let's go ahead to another question here. I am contemplating divorce and want to leave the home. What do I need to do to ensure I'm not waiving the rights to my kids?
Well, basically nothing because there's no such thing as abandonment in Florida. We get this question all the time. I probably get this 3 times a week if I had to guess. By leaving the home, you do not abandon your children. You do not abandon your property or waiving no rights by leaving the home. I don't know where this kind of misinformation comes from. I don't know if it's online or maybe different states have different standards. But in Florida, if you're in a situation where you're living in a hostile environment in the house, the courts want you to get out and be in a safe place. They don't want you to remain in that situation. They're certainly not going to punish you for taking yourself out of that situation. So if it's in your best interest, your kid's best interest, whatever it may be, feel free to move out of the home, get your own place, move in with friends, parents, relatives, whatever you need to do to be safe. Now, if you have kids, of course, you're going to have to work out a time sharing schedule and figure that out between you and the other parent in the meantime. But you're not waiving your rights to the home. You're not relinquishing any interest in the home. The other thing you want to be careful of is if there's any family heirlooms in the home, I usually recommend putting those in a safe so that, one party doesn't vindictively destroy them, because they can only be replaced, monetarily, meaning through monetary
Right.
damages. You're never going to be able to get those back if they're destroyed. But otherwise, you're certainly welcome to move out of the home, and go about living your life in a safe and reasonable manner.
Let's go ahead and jump onto one more email question here. And again, if you want to participate, send your email into ask@DeWittLaw.com. That is ask@DeWittLaw.com. My neighbor's tree is hanging over my property. What is the process that I need to go about to cut it down? What if if I'm allowed to just cut it down? What do I do if I have to go into the neighbor's yard to get to it?
So usually you can cut anything that's hanging over your property. You can trim that back, without their permission. Now, I usually recommend, if you want to be a good neighbor, go over and talk to them, let them know what's going on. But you can cut anything that's kind of hanging over your property. Now, the question that often arises is typically, well, what if that tree falls on my property? Well, if the tree is, sickly looking, and you put them on notice and it falls and causes damage, then then they would be responsible. The neighbor would be responsible for it. If it just is healthy and they have no notice that the tree was sickly or could cause damage, and it falls over, then typically you're responsible for the damage on your property. But anything that's hanging over, you can certainly trim back.
And then what about if they did have to want to trim it back and they had to go onto the neighbor's property to get access to where they needed to trim?
You would need their permission to do that. Otherwise, you could be trespassing. So that's why it's always a good idea, whether you're going onto their property or not. I think it's a good idea to go over and say, hey, we're going to be trimming this back. Do you mind if the tree trimmer needs to get on your property? Do you mind if they come on there? And that way, you're just letting them know what's going on and getting that permission in advance.
And as you mentioned, it's just a good, nice neighborly thing. Help keep things copacetic.
Absolutely.
No one needs to get into neighborly problems, and we don't need any neighborly dispute emails coming into the show. But if you do have a neighborly dispute and you want to email us, you can. Ask@DeWittLaw.com. That is ask@DeWittLaw.com. We've got your Moe DeWitt Pro Tip of the Week coming up. If you want to set an appointment with the DeWitt Law Firm, don't forget, give them a call, 1-800-DeWitt-Law. That's 1-800-339-4885. DeWitt Law Review on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580.
Story time. So I want to tell you a little story about a call I got about a year ago. This guy gave me a call. He was just in a car accident. And I talked to him for a while. I told him what to do. Told him he needed to go seek medical treatment and get checked out. He said, thank you. I appreciate your time, but I'm not going to hire you. So not a problem. If you have any questions, concerns, let me know. Happy to talk to you anytime. About 2 weeks later, I was actually in the Bahamas. About 2 weeks later, he called me back and he goes, spoke to the insurance company. They're offering me $770 and they're saying I'm 30% at fault for the accident. You're hired. Sent him the paperwork, got him signed up. That was about a year ago. Today, we just settled his case for $100,000. The insurance company wanted to pay him $770 to resolve that claim. And this is just a prime example as why you should never settle with the insurance company that soon after an accident. You don't know what your injuries are. You haven't gotten checked out by a doctor. You don't know if you're going to need surgery or if there's a tear in a ligament or something more substantial. So when the insurance company offers you quick money after an accident, typically they're offering you pennies on the dollar to go away. And the last thing they want you to do is to hire an attorney because they don't want to pay you the fair compensation that you deserve.
And final segment of the DeWitt Law Review on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's News and Talk. Just a reminder, check out DeWittLaw.com, the website. You can submit a case evaluation. You can check out past archive shows and the legal blog as well. And also don't forget to check out @DeWitt Law Firm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever social media platform is, you name it. If you go Facebook and YouTube, you can watch past shows that we've done and also the beginning of this show if you missed it and tuning in late. Also, though, Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and stuff, Mo does a lot of fun things with advertising stuff that he does creatively that's different from what a lot of people do. So you got to check that stuff out. Give him a follow, drop a like, all that fun stuff. But in the meantime, Mo, let's go ahead and give the people what they want. The Mo Pro Tip of the Week.
So this is one we did a few weeks ago, but I think it's timely considering you're hearing this February 27th, which means Monday is the last day of the month, which also means it's the last day to file for your homestead exemption. And so you don't want to miss that. If you haven't done it already, go to your county's property appraiser website. Go ahead and get that filed. Make sure it's done timely. because it can cost you a lot of money if you don't. So it's a simple one this week, but if you haven't done it already, here's your, we'll call it a friendly Moe reminder this week rather than a pro tip. Get that homestead filed. Make sure you're doing that timely and getting that taken care of.
What is the typical process for filing homestead? Is it just a piece of paper you get in the mail? How does that normally work?
Each county is a little different. I think most counties now you can go online, whether it's the property appraiser website or the tax assessor website, and just fill out a form online and submit it that way. Usually you need some forms of identification, driver's license, things like that. In some counties that aren't set up online, you may actually have to fill out an actual piece of paper. You may have to go down to the office to do that. But I think most counties you can do it online now. It probably takes 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's simple little process, something that you got to take care of because, as you said, it's a big difference. Because basically, for those who may not understand the homesteading process, it basically locks in a tax rate
Right.
for your home, correct?
Yep, exactly.
And that if you are, entering into a new home purchase, if you've bought in a home within the last year, I would say, right, that if you want to, if that house was homesteaded before, you're going to want to do that as well to keep those rates because it will then go up as in the same.
Yeah, what it basically does is it only allows the tax to increase by a certain percentage a year. So rather than it being reassessed on the full market value of the home,
which right now is much higher than it was when you probably bought it about 8-9 months ago.
exactly. The whole idea is you're not going to be priced out because you won't be able to afford your taxes because it's going to limit the amount that the taxes are allowed to increase per year so that you can remain in that home for an extended period of time, even if the values go up quite a bit.
Yeah, and it's honestly, it's something that I didn't even realize was a thing until I went through the home buying process. Like it's one of
Yep.
those things that I didn't even think about or know existed or anything. And then I do know that there's even people out there who still gone through the home buying process and just don't recognize what that is or get what that is and end
Yeah.
up, just being like, oh, whatever, homesteaded, I'll just ignore that. And then boom, they get hit with their tax bill. And it's now, wait a second, why is this $1,200 more than it was last month?
Right. And a surprise tax bill is never fun.
No, well, no tax bill is fun, but when you add in the surprise factor to it, that just
Exactly.
takes away a lot of the fun aspect to it. So yeah, get that done because what is today? Today's the second to last day of the month theoretically. It's 27th.
Right. So Monday would be the
So
last
Monday
day.
would be the last day. Shorter month. They tuck it right in there too, right? They take
Yep.
away some of those days for you to get that done. So good stuff from you there, Mo. Good timely Mo pro tip of the week. If you want to get in touch with the DeWitt Law firm, go ahead and give them a call at 1-800-DeWitt Law, 1-800-339-4885. That's 1-800-339-4885. Don't forget, you can also check them out online at DeWittLaw.com. You can submit a case evaluation there. You can check out the past shows as well. Podcast is where you can check out these past shows as well. We put them all up in a podcast feature as well. For Moe DeWitt, I'm Chris Crawford. We'll be back same time, same place next week. DeWitt Law Review on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580.